called President Biden completely inaccurate about the price of gasoline when he took office. Watch this.
The most common price of gas in America is $3.39, down from over $5 when I took office.
No, not really. A regular gallon of gas was $2.39 on January 20th, 2021, when Joe Biden took office. So it is much higher than where it was when the president started his term. Joining me right now is Florida Congressman, member of the House Armed Services Committee, and former Green Beret commander, Michael Waltz. Congressman, it's always a pleasure to see you. Thanks very much for being here. The president keeps spewing out misinformation, and the energy policy has been focused on cutting fossil fuels and, in fact, pushing this climate change agenda. But the president is misleading on the price of gasoline. Why do you think that is?
And Maria, I think he just has an absolute credibility crisis and has lost all credibility with the American people. And that's why you're seeing his numbers where they are. And that's why you're about to see a red wave these midterms. I mean, it's been his entire presidency thus far, from standing for the world and saying Afghanistan was an astounding success, transitory inflation, gas prices have gone down on his watch. And so that credibility crisis is leading to his numbers. I'm watching very closely the cost of diesel because that's what you need to fill up a semi truck. It's gone from $350 to $400 to over $1,000. And I think it's one of the biggest drivers of inflation. As long as the progressives are driving his energy policy, inflation is going to be where it is because everything has to be transported.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned diesel. Dagan McDowell has been talking about diesel now for about 2 years, and we are seeing the impact of this policy on diesel. But I want to get your take on foreign policy and why this president refuses to keep China to account, hold China and the Communist Party to account with regard to the origins of COVID-19. He has yet to bring up the origins of COVID-19. We know China won't allow an investigation, but the Senate GOP Health Committee is out with an explosive new report this week saying that COVID-19 was, quote, most likely the result of a research-related incident in China. And it was not a natural transmission of a virus from animal to human, as the Democrats and the White House tried to get us to believe. This study showed the early spread was also due to the troubled biosafety procedures at labs in Wuhan. Congressman, how should the U.S. be responding, and why won't this president push Xi Jinping on allowing a true investigation so that we can get to the bottom of it and perhaps make sure this doesn't happen again?
Yeah, that's the scary thing, Maria. I mean, in the House of Representatives, the Democrats, all this time, with all of this money and all of this damage to our economy, our kids, and the health of the American people, have had 0 hearings in the House on origins of COVID. They just, have their collective heads in the sand on it, including the president. I don't expect him to raise it with Chairman Xi in the upcoming G20 meetings either. And the problem is the last 3 pandemics have come from China. Every one was far more deadly than the last one. That we have no reason to believe the next one won't come from China. We know gain of function research is still happening over there. Possibly with taxpayer funding, U.S. taxpayer funding. So we're going to shut this down, Maria. We are going to investigate it. We do, in order to stop the next pandemic, we have to understand fully where this one came from. And when Republicans flip the House and the Senate, we are going to get to the bottom of it.
Well, I mean, this is very serious because, as you have said many times, the Chinese Communist Party is perhaps the single biggest threat to America and our way of life and democracy and freedom. And you have to ask the question, is it because this president is compromised because of all of the money that he and his family have taken in from Chinese officials? We have new bank records this morning that show Chinese energy firm CEFC poured almost $11 million into a joint venture with Hunter Biden. The first son and his uncle Jim Biden used the cash to pay themselves 6-figure salaries, along with hefty bonuses, Congressman. We all know about the infamous email, the big guy email. That is when they were negotiating with CEFC about who gets how much equity. And on that email, it says 10% held by H for the big guy. We've been told by Tony Bobolinsky and others, partners of Hunter Biden, that the big guy was always referred to as Joe Biden, Congressman. So how are we supposed to trust this president is going to act on the best interests for the American people when he may be compromised from all the millions of dollars that he has accepted from the Chinese Communist Party?
Yeah, and Maria, just to add to your previous point on the pandemics, we know through Chinese Communist Party military writings that biowarfare, gene editing, and crisping is a key part of their strategy going forward. And we also know that the Chinese military was conducting research at the Wuhan Institute because Mike Pompeo and John Ratcliffe thankfully unclassified that just before they left office. To your point on the president, look, we know it is a part of Chinese Communist Party propaganda and also their strategy to compromise the family members of key individuals in other countries around the world. They call it elite capture. They do it through the princelings, which are the sons. And we have every indication that not only happened in the past, but that's the case right now. And if that's the case, it's one more thing we have to get to the bottom of as Republicans that we're going to investigate. And we've got 11 days to go, Maria, until we can start getting to the bottom of these issues.
Well, I would recommend our viewers look at John Ratcliffe's op-ed today. John Ratcliffe has an op-ed in the Journal with Cliff Sims, and the title is How Do Drag Shows Advance U.S. National Security? And it's basically about how the administration is pushing this woke ideology on the world at the expense of American values, even in our Department of Defense. I'm sorry, when I think of our defense, I would like them to just focus on readiness and not focus on woke ideology. I mean, you're a former Green Beret. How do you see it?
Yeah, we're running around the world preaching ESG, worried about drag shows, and obsessed with DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Meanwhile, the Chinese military are obsessed with hypersonics, building more aircraft carriers, expanding their nuclear fleet, building a Navy that's larger than ours, and preparing what I think is now a matter of when, not if, they take Taiwan in their move towards global domination. So one more thing we have to fight, Maria. We're in the fight.
Real quick, I still have not heard a peep out of this administration about support for the Iranian people who are on the ground in Iran right now protesting the supreme leader. Iran's top military commander has blamed anti-government protesters for a deadly ISIS attack that killed 15 people. But look at all of these people in Berlin. These are Iranian protesters. The regime promised to punish anybody who threatens public security, Congressman. What do you want to say about what's going on in Iran right now? Sources tell me that the Iran deal is dead, but the administration doesn't want to say it yet because it'll affect oil prices. Can we still pursue an Iran deal and not support the people of Iran at this moment in time?
Yeah, I don't see how this administration, as badly as they want to, and believe me, they're so desperate for a deal, it's scary. But I don't see how they do it at this point. We even have Iranian Americans in Daytona, Florida, in my district, out showing support. They can do it. People in Berlin, these brave women in Iran and around the world are standing up for their freedom, and we get zero, zilch, nothing from this administration. They have the worst record on human rights of any modern presidency, from the border to Xinjiang in China, to Iran, to Afghanistan, and what's happening to the girls there. This is the worst human rights record of any modern American presidency.
Yeah. All right, Congressman, we're going to be watching 11 days away from the midterm elections. We will be watching all of this. Thank you, sir. Congressman Michael Waltz joining us in Florida. We'll be right back.